In the first round of Ready Set Jam, an elimination game jam being hosted by Vimlark, I managed to come in second place out of 4. Meaning that in the second round I had to compete against SidFishGames and Yannick. Round 2 was 24 hours instead of 48, with a twist that was picked by the winner of the last round. What they picked was bigger is better, and since my game was a pseudo-horror game with a giant sea creature, I figured, I'm gonna win this. As you can probably tell by this video's title, I survived elimination that round, but it was an absolute mess. The SparkNose version is that I spent more than half of my time creating giant monsters and giving them AI and spawn rates and all these kinds of things, and then with like 7 hours left to go, I threw it all out. So with most of my time gone, I used the feedback I got from the judges as a literal checklist and went through and fixed everything they disliked about my game. And somehow, meaning that we said goodbye to Yannick, and the final round was me versus SidFish. But before we get into that, my name is Helper Wesley. I make games and fortnightly videos. With round 2 out of the way, we both popped into Discord and received this message. We had 48 non-consecutive hours to create a game with the theme of power sources and the restriction of achievements.
In your style? In your style?
Was only going to cause trouble. So I decided I wanted to make something that's a little more colorful, but probably just as dark. So the theme of power sources left me with a bunch of different ideas. Achievements could only go one of 2 ways. Literal achievements, where you do something and then you get rewarded for them, or joke achievements. And of course, I went with the joke achievements. And at the time, I was watching a gaming video from Markiplier. His video editor, Lixian, is also an aspiring game developer. He had created this short clicker game with a horror narrative weaved into it. Using Lixian's game as a sort of template, I went ahead with making the art and planning the scaling system. I don't know if it was the news getting me down or if it was just the really, really hot days that were happening over the summer, but I decided to make my game about supplying the planet with power without killing it. So I made 4 different types of fuel to use to power the planet, and the goal was to get to a certain number. It used a lot of the same clicker game tropes, with a juicy clicking effect and sound, but on top of that, there were these achievements. And they would start out nice and fun, where the first one you got for the very first time you clicked, and then you'd get one for the 10th, and the first upgrade you got, and so on. But eventually, around the midway point of the game, you would get these less funny achievements. And it was at this point that you would realize that the planet was actually turning a darker color. What I had set up the game to do was track a number called the environmental impact number, along with total energy earned, and it would use this ratio to determine how poorly you're spending your points. And the goal was to set it up so that the first time you're playing the game, you'd probably kill the planet. And then the second time you play it, using your now earned knowledge, you'd be able to have a better run the second time around and hopefully save the planet. I knew that a clicker game wasn't going to get a great reaction from the judges, so I had to make sure to do it perfectly right. So I had the game itself together really quickly, and I spent forever tweaking the balance of the game to get it just right. Like from round 1, I enlisted some people from our Discord to help me out with the balance, by playtesting it, and then using their feedback to make sure the game was as balanced as it could possibly be, and subtracting the time they spent playtesting from my overall time. Knowing that for round 1, 2, and now in round 3, I was making things that I knew the judges weren't going to like, I figured I should do at least one thing that I knew was going to get a positive reaction from the judges specifically. I know that Vimlark suffers from an RSI injury that makes it hard to repeatedly click things. I actually found that out when he was playtesting my game from the first Vim Jam, In and Out Night Burglar. In that game, you would go into a museum and steal things. But to steal things, you had to rapidly click on them so that you could take them. And watching him struggle through the pain of rapidly clicking changed my perception on how we should be viewing accessibility in games. And so for him specifically, I made an option of an auto-clicker built into the game, which I don't think I've ever seen in any other clicker game before, but I'm not going to take credit as being the first one to ever put an auto-clicker in a game, because there are way too many games out there that I've never played for me to claim that. But I've never seen it done before, and since I had enough time to actually add this in, I thought it would be a nice addition. I spent the remainder of my time playtesting, tweaking the balance, and polishing up some effects and art. And then that was it. My 48 hours were up. I kind of forgot to record footage from Vimlark playing this game, but trust me, it was amazing. The chat was going wild, he almost killed the planet, but he didn't. It was great. It was so cool. But you'll just have to take my word on it because I screwed up and did not record that. But then there were the final results. And I did not win. SidFish had built a fun puzzle platforming game, and even though the votes were close, they took it in the end. So congratulations to SidFish. I will get you next time. A big thank you to Vimlark for inviting me, and I really enjoyed my time with Ready Set Jam. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, be sure to do the whole like, comment, and subscribe thing, and a huge thank you to my patrons. Because of them, my coffee cup is full. As always, the links to all the cool places that I hang out are down below, and if you decide to click on one, then I'll see you there.